2.6, 2.7, problem number 2. Certainly you may have a different equation, but one of the first things we should always do is go to a calculator. And I've already typed in 3 over x plus 3. So remember, if there's more than one thing on top or on the bottom, you'd have to put everything in parentheses. So I had 2 things on the bottom, so I put them in parentheses, and now when I graph it, just a standard window, I can kind of see what's happening. So why did it do what? Why did it show up that way on the graph? So let's go ahead and graph this thing. So one of the first things I always do is I take the bottom off to the side. X plus 3 is equal to 0. I subtract 3 on both sides, and I get x equals -3. What this tells me is, because there's not the same factor of x plus 3 on top, is I have this vertical asymptote at x equals -3. And then I look for the horizontal asymptote next, and it's a 0 degree on top and a 1st degree on the bottom, because it's x to the 1st power, and technically it's x to the 0. There's no x on top, so that's why. And then this tells me that this will go to y equals 0. So there's a horizontal asymptote running through there at y equals 0. And then when we look for the intercepts, like if I was going to look for the y-intercept, that is when x is 0. So when x is 0, I would plug that in. That goes on the bottom, and I'm left with 3 on the bottom, and I also have the 3 on top. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. So I can find that my y-intercept, let's do it in green, would be right here at 0, 1. Now, to find the x-intercept, my whole expression, what makes the whole expression equal to 0? So that means what x value would make this equal to 0? And basically, can you make the top equal to 0 is the question you're asking, because remember, if you make the bottom 0, that's all this work right here. And if the bottom is 0, you have an undefined term. That's why we did that at the beginning. So I don't worry about that now. What makes the top 0? And because I can't, it's a D&E type thing, I can't do that intercept. So this is it. So remember, when you went back to our graph, it was doing something like this and something like this. So now go down here and pick the picture that matches what we've drawn.